Your buddy Peace and Harmony here. Lifting feelings of sorrow and depression after experiencing narcissistic, psychopathic, or really any sort of emotional abuse for that matter. Now, there's a feeling of heaviness, a feeling of despondency, a feeling of depression that comes with having endured emotional abuse, physical abuse, being betrayed, being cheated on, be lied to have somebody stab you in your back, to have somebody live a double life, to have somebody do something so backwards, so criminal that it puts us into a state of shock. Our body is really experiencing this as a sort of threat to our very own reality, which in essence it really is, and you don't want to minimize that. The weight of the sorrow, really, I really believe that once you understand the source, you can help to lift it. And if we really look, think of it as comparing to an infant. If you have an infant who's maybe 1 week, 2 weeks old, 3 weeks old, and they're crying, they're crying for acknowledgement. They're crying because they're hungry. They're crying because they need to be burped. They're crying because their diapers need to be changed. They're crying because they're tired or they're too cold. They're crying because they feel they have not been acknowledged and they need some adjusting. Well, I really think that that's where the heaviness of the sorrow comes in with after the abuse of the narcissist, the psychopath, or any emotional and physical abuse. It's such a root betrayal that one is experiencing, and that is really that of being unacknowledged, disrespected, and violated. It's what they call exploitation. It's using people to your own means in a very inhuman way, and the mind has such a difficulty processing this because we had put our trust, which meant a sense of confidence, in this person. We had maybe looked up to them for certain qualities that they had, and we had really admired them. We had looked up to them almost like a mentor, as a partner, as a relationship. I mean, when you're growing into a love relationship with people, with another person, how can you not look up to them? How can you not, that's what you enjoyed. You look forward to this person. The things that you would do together, the laughs, the food, all the good times. I mean, you relish that, you looked up to that. And to realize that this person had maybe a double life, a triple life, that the person that you saw does not exist. The person that you fell in love with is not who they really are. Excuse me, I gotta be here. Still around? Okay, good. This person is no longer, who you thought that they were, and it can be it can cause you to question your senses. It can cause you to doubt your emotions. I mean, it's a whole flip, it's a whole inversion of your sense of reality. And that is very frightening, because the way your body receives it, I mean, you've taken them in with your senses. You've listened to them, you've exchanged things with your senses and your repertoire, and it's like that whole repertoire and that whole book of experience just gets dismantled and inverted, and you start to doubt and question everything. Hence the reoccurring thoughts, the intrusive thoughts, the dreams of them, very vivid dreams, the flashbacks. These are all flashing back to the abuse. So again, it's your mind trying to process it and make sense of what's going on. It's trying to readjust and reorientate to a truer sense of reality. So I want you to not be alarmed by that, although it can be very alarming. I do understand that. But to lift the sorrow, really understand that the sorrow is coming from your feeling and your internal sense that you have not been acknowledged, you have not been witnessed, you have not received that anointing in the relationship, if that makes any sense. And just like the example of the baby crying, you know, if you were to not acknowledge them, I mean, they would eventually starve and, you know, and wither away. I mean, they would need some sort of intervention. If they're not acknowledged, they're going to start to, you know, distrust their sense of reality, and they're going to act even worse if their needs aren't satisfied. So that's kind of like what it is perpetually coming through the narcissistic or psychopathic or really any sort of emotional or physically abusive relationship. And that's why, you know, I think it's so sad when people say, you know, oh, you're a spoiled brat, or, you know, you're causing people to feel guilty for having their needs being met, when you, as probably the parent, had created that situation because you were not there to satisfy their needs. So they had to live in such an unpredictable environment where there was no communication, that they had to cry. They had to really be sensitive emotionally. Same thing it is when you're going through the healing phases of a narcissistic or psychopathic abusive relationship and you've just exploited them. It's very difficult to lift that sorrow because you feel so unacknowledged. So you're so used to living in that state of denial or disintegration, it's hard for you to feel like you're grounded, standing on your own feet, standing with your head up high, owning your emotions. It sounds very strange, but it's an actual phenomenon because you have been so hyper-vigilant and so attentive to them, and then their inverted reality, which has not been reflected back to you accurately. It's like you need to come back to your senses. Again, it's almost like being, you know how you hear about astronauts going into space. Same thing. You have to readjust to a new climate, and lift. Your sorrow will begin to lift once you start to acknowledge yourself. So work those tools that we've discussed in the recovery journal. Focus on things you want. Focus on things you want to do. Focus on things you want to have. Focus on places you want to go. Focus on things you want to learn about. Focus on different goals and things of that nature, and recommit to yourself. Come back with a conviction and faith in yourself, and get in touch with the you, the real you, the sweet you that was there before all this wounding occurred. Even if you were parented by this type of person, you have a genuine, authentic spirit that loves life. And you can get in touch with that once you start to work these tools. Keep them in front of you on a daily basis and work on those driving affirmations like we stated in the previous video, and you begin to get a resurgence of energy, peace, and harmony in your life, and that feeling of stability that you've been craving and needing for so long. So acknowledge yourself. Peace and harmony here with you here today. Please share and subscribe for more great tools, videos, and discussions, and make it a beautiful day.